Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Nadella. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Caleb is not here tonight, fortunately. He's got to take care of some family stuff. So I guess that's important, more important than a podcast.
I suppose.
He gets a pass this time. Let's be real. You guys have given me quite the pass many times, so I guess I can't complain. So
that's true.
No, well, let's get into it. Landon, I heard there might have been an event or something over Samsung, some mobile thing. I don't know.
Yeah, they had an Unpacked event past week in South Korea at Samsung's headquarters, I believe. And they announced some stuff.
Hey, we like hardware, right?
Yes, hardware is always fun. Although there's not a lot. I mean, they announced a lot of devices, I'll say that. But when it comes to actual things to talk about, not so much. So,
yeah,
the devices that they announced are the Galaxy Z Flip 5, the Galaxy Z Fold 5, the Galaxy Tab S9, S9 Plus, and S9 Ultra, and the Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 Classic and Galaxy Watch 6. So, that's a lot of stuff.
It is true. Well, why don't we get into this? Let's take a look, shall we?
Yes. All right. So, when it comes to the Z Flip 5 and the Z Fold 5, normally I would go over the specs of these devices as per, that's how I normally do new device announcements. Problem is that the specs on these phones are basically what they were last year.
Are they really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So I've got an article pulled up here that says the differences between, I'll start with the Z Flip 5. So that one actually has the most changes to it between the two phones. So the Z Flip 5 has, they both have a new processor. So they've got the current Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor. So they've upgraded there. Mm-hmm. And then they upgraded the hinge on both phones. So now the hinge is smaller and actually makes it so the phone completely folds flat, similar to the Razr phone, the Moto Razr, and Google's Pixel Fold and things like that, where they're folded completely flat. There's not like a little gap between the screen when it's closed.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking at it right now. It looks... Yeah,
that is good.
Actually,
I'll hand it to them on that. That is a good thing. So, but that's about it. And also, the Fold 5 has a brighter inside display, which is good.
Yes.
But those are the three things that are different on these phones. And I guess the Flip 5 has a larger cover screen. So the outside display, when it is closed, instead of that little postage stamp thing that they had before, they actually have very similar to what's on the Moto Razr. The difference between the Razr phone and this one is, like, the Razr phone, the screen kind of envelops the cameras as well. They kind of go around the cameras and make a full square. Whereas Samsung's has a little cutoff and it is different. It looks, it's weird. It's bigger and more useful. And when I say more useful, it's basically just as usable as the Moto Razr outside displays. You can use pretty much any app on the outside that you want to. Now, I wouldn't recommend that with most apps, like watching video, it's funny because they announced that just right out of the box, YouTube and Netflix will work on that outside display. But I wouldn't recommend that.
Right.
It's a 3.4-inch square-ish display. So, I mean, like Caleb has mentioned before, like when we talked about the Moto Razr, the original iPhone was a 3.5-inch display. You can be perfectly fine with that type of display. But it wasn't square. It was, rectangular and made sense to watch videos on that type of display. On a square-ish display like this, that's just weird.
Yes.
So, and the really dumb thing about this one, so Moto Razr, you can use any app on the outside display. You just have to go in to the settings and select, okay, I want to be able to use this app and this app and this app or whatever. And you can do that on the Samsung one, but from what I understand, it is a really difficult process. Like, it's a timely process, I should say. Not necessarily difficult, but there's like 5 or 6 different steps you have to go through in order to do that, which is really dumb.
That is.
So that's interesting. But that's what's new on both of these phones. New processor, brighter display on the Fold, bigger display on the Flip on the outside, and a new hinge. And that's it.
Yeah,
that's
I've
all that's
got
different.
both of them pulled up here too, just kind of looking. But yeah, they have more fancy wording, if you will, but that's that's about it.
And the prices are the same. So the Fold starts at $1,800, which is still a lot of freaking money, and the Flip starts at $1,000, which is competitive. I mean, Moto Razr also the Moto Razr Plus, which is what this is. The actual competition between these is also $1,000. So that's nice. But if you're going to be spending that much money on, if you're debating between the Moto Razr Plus and the Samsung Z Flip 5, my vote would be the Moto Razr Plus, because that outside display is more out of the box usable, and I am just not a huge fan of Samsung's user interface. So if you like Samsung's interface, I guess you probably would like the Flip more, but my personal preference would still be towards the Razr. And I guess with the Fold, it's still basically the best. Well, I don't know. Pixel Fold gives a lot of competition, I think, for the Fold 5, because the Pixel Fold has a normal looking outside display, whereas the Pixel or the Galaxy Fold has that really tall, skinny one, which is also really weird to use.
Yeah. I'd have to look at it side by side, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's strange. These are very iterative updates. Granted, you don't need to upgrade this type of device every year. You don't need to update most devices every year, because there just isn't. It's not usually worth a year-over-year upgrade. Is usually not great. They're usually bigger than this, but they're still usually not worth it. But if you just have to have the latest technology, then okay. But if you have a Flip 4 or a Fold 4, there is zero reason to upgrade, in my opinion, from either of those devices.
Yeah, you're getting the same battery, same power share. You're. I guess if you really want that Gen 2 Snapdragon 8, but
it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Samsung's trade-ins are decent, but still, it's not. I don't think it's worth that, in my opinion.
I didn't see the trade-in. Did you look at the trade-in to see if you did want to do that?
I don't. Well, if you're trading in another Samsung to another Samsung, those offers are pretty decent. I don't know what it would be for a Pixel or an iPhone or something like that. I didn't look that close to see what it was, but
I just wondered if they had a deal. I know, like for me, I went from 5 to 7. I'm on the odd end of the Pixel stuff. I got the 5, and then the 6 came out, and I was like, yeah, there's nothing really to upgrade for me on that. And then the 7, I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's every other seems like for most companies now.
That's usually how it is. That's how I've always been, other than until I got the iPhone. I went from the 12 to the 13, but I went from the 12 to the 13 Pro Max. And it's funny, I got $800 trade-in for my iPhone 12 to get the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So
they had a good trade-in.
I had a really good trade-in. So that's why I did that, and I really missed having that bigger display. So I did that. But most people, and including myself, the majority of the time, are not upgrading every year. Like, I didn't get the iPhone 14. I'm even debating whether or not to get the iPhone 15 if I want to get that, or even getting a new phone in general this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's an interesting thing Samsung did here. And maybe they're just content to let this just flow, and I don't know. Maybe next year we'll get some bigger improvements, and maybe a design change. I don't know. It's strange.
Yeah.
All right. That's the phones. Now on to the watches. They've got the Watch 6 Classic and the Watch 6. The Classic is going to be the higher end model of the two. It starts at $400, and the regular 6 is $300. The differences between these two, really, so the Classic has the rotating bezel that everyone really liked with the Samsung watches, whereas the regular one doesn't have that. And also the Classic is a stainless steel body as opposed to the aluminum one on the smaller, or on the regular. And it's also, the regular is also a little bit smaller than the Classic. So the sizes on the Watch 6 Classic are, you have a 43 millimeter option or a 47 millimeter option. And on the Watch 6, you have a 40 millimeter option or a 44 millimeter option. So depending on what size you want, kind of determines which watch you're going to get. If you want a smaller one, you don't really have much of an option for the Watch 6 Classic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because the smallest there is the 43, whereas the regular one is 40, so there's that. But I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Samsung's watches over the years. So if you're in that ecosystem, it's probably best to stay with, in my opinion. Generally, if you're used to something, it's not a bad thing to stay with it. But look around. There are options out there. The Pixel Watch is there. Garmin makes really good watches. Fitbit has good watches. It all really depends on what you're looking for in a watch.
Yeah.
I mean, Samsung still can't quite compete with what Apple does on the fitness side of things, but they are one of the closer ones when it comes to that. So, that's...
Even with Google buying Fitbit, you think?
Well, yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So this is still I'm still new to the whole watch thing. I had Fitbit for a while. Then I got the Pixel Watch when it came out, and I've been loving it and enjoying it. But so I just don't know. I haven't had the Apple Watch or anything else. Yeah. But I've heard people really, really, really like their Samsung watches. So
yeah, I've heard, like, my brother has a Samsung watch and he really likes it. And he's actually looking to upgrade right now. He's debating between a few different watches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's good things about all of them. All of them, well, most of them do the basic fitness stuff well enough for the majority of people. It all depends on how into that you are. Like, if you're doing, like, mountain biking, hiking, and stuff like that, you're kind of going to go towards, like, a Garmin or the Apple Watch Ultra, depending on which ecosystem you're looking for. If you're more into just, like, basic, like, smaller workouts, or, going on a walk every now and then, not doing anything too rugged, then almost any other fitness watch is going to be fine. Even, like, the cheaper Fitbits are going to be fine. It just really depends on what you're going to be using it for and how much you want to spend, really, is the other key. I mean, a lot of these flagship watches are in that $300 to $400 range. Like your Apple Watch is in there, the Samsung watches are there, the Pixel Watch is there. Even the high end Fitbits are in that $250 to $300 range. Garmin's is where it does start to get, like, you can get a Garmin for around $250 or whatnot, but their nicer high end ones are in that closer to $800 range, which is like the Apple Watch Ultra. So, like I said, it depends on what you're looking for, how much you want to spend, and what ecosystem you want to use. A lot of these do talk to each other. Like Apple Watch will talk with my it'll work with my Google Fit stuff, so I use that as well as Apple Health. And I mean, obviously, Pixel will use Google Fit, and Samsung will use. I mean, they use Samsung Health, but I think it can tie into different things, and Fitbit can tie into everything. And there's lots of different things that you need to look for when you're going for a watch. But I've heard lots of good things. I would imagine these are going to be good watches. They look really nice. They do have that traditional watch look, which I do really appreciate. I mean, if you're looking to stand out, it's not necessarily the right watch for you. The Apple Watch is definitely more of that, like, look, I've got an Apple Watch type thing.
Yeah.
Because it is so recognizable and not your traditional watch look. Whereas these ones are definitely have that round watch face. They look like a watch. So that's the Samsung Galaxy Watch 6 and Watch 6 Classic. Now on to the fun ones. The Galaxy Tab S9 series of tablets. So they have the Tab S9, the Tab S9 Plus, and the Tab S9 Ultra. And some specs on these. So the S9 has an 11-inch display. The S9 Plus has a 12.4-inch display. And the S9 Ultra has a whopping 14.6-inch display. Why? I don't know, but it's there. They all have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor. The S9 has an 8400 milliamp hour battery. The Plus has a 10,000 milliamp hour battery, and the Ultra has a 11,200 milliamp hour battery. Storage on the S9 is 250 or up to 256 gigs. The Plus has up to 512 gigs, and the Ultra has up to 1 terabyte. They do have an S Pen that is included with all of these devices, so if you're looking for that, you don't have to worry about which one to get there. They all have it. The cameras on these things, they have the S9 has one rear camera. It's a 13 megapixel and a 12 megapixel front sensor, and then the Plus and Ultra both have a 13 megapixel and an 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor on the back, and the Plus has one 12 megapixel camera on the front, and the Ultra has two 12 megapixel cameras on the front. So that's fun. But yeah, I mean, they're interesting. The Tab S Ultra is, I don't know, with basically a 15-inch display. I don't really know who this is supposed to be for. I think they're trying to compete like with the high-end iPad Pro, but one, it's an Android tablet, and two, it's really expensive. I mean, the iPad Pro is also expensive, but the Tab S9 Ultra starts at $1,200, and that's the 256 gigs of storage, 12 gigs of RAM. Now, if you buy it right now, as we're recording, they do have a free storage upgrade, so you can get the 512 gigs of storage for the same $1,200 price. But I don't know how long that's going to last. So the Tab S9 starts at $800 for the 11-inch display. The S9 Plus is $1,000, and the S9 Ultra, like I said, $1,200. And that's a lot of money for an Android tablet. I mean, of Android tablets, I do think Samsung's are the best, but I just don't think they really compare with the iPad. Especially, so the iPad Pro, I'm just looking this up right here. Just curious to see the starting price of an iPad Pro at 11-inch display is $799. So the S9 is $799.
Mm-hmm.
But that and it's also 11-inch display, but that's not their Pro device. That's just their baseline tablet. Whereas the iPad Pro 11-inch display, $799, has the same features as the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which is $1099. So their 13-inch display it's $100 more than Samsung's 12.4-inch one, but it's also an iPad Pro versus an Android tablet. So I don't know. I mean, if you really hate iPads, which is fair, if you're not into that, that's fine, and you really need a tablet, you could go for this. But at those prices, I get a laptop with a touchscreen.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're going to be able to do a lot more with that laptop. Because I mean, this is running a mobile processor, which the iPad Pros are running desktop level processors. They got M series processors that are going to just blow these things out of the water. So they definitely can't compete in that sense by any means. And there's way more professional grade apps made for the iPad, whereas the Android tablets don't have those, at least not as many of those.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, they got to keep them in stock, or they have to keep making them, I guess, because they do sell, but I just don't know who they're for. I don't know.
I don't know if someone that just wants to stay in the Samsung ecosystem, I guess. There's people that like that. They like their I don't know, their stuff all together like that. I mean, I'm one. I enjoy that, but yeah, it's hard.
I mean, I definitely am all about staying in an ecosystem. I mean, that's fine, but I don't know. I mean, if I were paying that much money, I just don't think I could justify a tablet for that much money. Even an iPad Pro, for what I would use it for, not worth it. If I'm paying that much money, I'm buying a computer. I mean, the new Mac Mini that I want to get is $1,300.
Yeah, so it's like,
and I could do infinitely more things than I could with an iPad Pro, let alone a Samsung tablet.
Yeah.
So
I guess the big key feature on this is probably just mobile, just being able to move it around.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, at that price, get a laptop. You can have the mobility.
I know.
You get a much better processor. It comes with a keyboard.
Yeah, right. Like I'm trying here, Samsung. I'm trying, but it ain't working.
You can get one with a touchscreen. I don't know. You can get a Samsung one that'll have an S Pen too.
I know.
I'm sorry, Samsung. I would like to try and say this is who should buy this, but I just don't know who that would be.
Yeah. I don't know.
So that's Samsung's Unpacked event. I mean, I'm sorry, listener, if you're a Samsung fanboy and I didn't live up to your hopes and dreams of just, praising these devices, because I don't think there's a whole lot there to praise other than the watches are, those are good. Other than that, I just don't see it personally.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely not us, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, we have other ideas what we'd have, where some people may have, they don't like the wires. They don't like all the other stuff. So that's the only thing I could think of is like, well, I'll pay for that ability or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
pay for the convenience.
I mean, there are people that could use a device like that. It's just, there's not very many of them, I don't think. Paying that much money for an Android tablet is just not something I think is a good idea.
I mean, you have Fire tablets, right, for your kids?
Yeah.
I mean, that's as much as Android as you got. I mean, I did have that. I got it for my girl in 2019, that one tablet they had. I can't think of what it is now. It's like it is a Samsung one. I can't think of what it was called. And we liked it for as long as it lasted, but it wasn't anything great. So, like, it's funny because when you come out with a tablet like this, I'm thinking kids, but I'm not going to spend $800 on a tablet for my kid.
No, definitely not. I mean, as a media consumption device, any tablet is going to be just fine for the most part, I think, even these. But at these prices, they're going more for they want to compete with the iPad Pro at those prices. Right. Those are directly competing with the iPad Pro. And for a Pro device, I just don't think an Android tablet is gonna do it. That's my opinion. So, I mean, if you, for some reason, the only thing, I'll give you this. The one person, if you have to have a tablet that has a 14.6-inch display, for some strange reason, you have to have that large of a tablet, Samsung's got your back for $1,200. Yeah. But that's just so much money. And having a 14-inch tablet, that kind of takes away the portability. It's freaking huge.
Yeah. Well, definitely not us.
No.
It's not meant for us, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because, cool. Like I said, I think it is cool, but man, that's a lot of dough. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I'm crapping on Samsung today, it's not just me. I've been reading reviews, I've been watching videos and listening to podcasts about this event, and I'm not the only one that thinks that these tablets are just not worth the price. So it's weird.
Yeah.
There are other people trying to justify it, and I want to. I can't do it. I can't. It's just too much money for what it is in my opinion. That's me. All right, that's Samsung's Unpacked event. Now the last thing that I want to talk about, Amazon is doing an interesting thing when it comes to being able to pay for stuff at Whole Foods, because Amazon does own Whole Foods. Listener, I don't know if you knew that.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But now they tried this out in 200 stores throughout the country, and now this is going to be, I think Whole Foods wide, at least in the U.S. I don't know if Whole Foods is outside of the U.S. to think about it. I'm not sure, but
I don't know.
They're going to be implementing this at all their stores, where you can pay with your palm.
What?
And I'm not meaning like your Palm Pilot, because that's not a thing anymore. I'm meaning like the palm of your hand. So the way that this works is you go in store, they're going to have little kiosks there that you can sign up with. You put your card in there, you put your right palm over the sensor, and then you put your left palm over the sensor, and then it knows who you are and associates that with your account and your card and whatnot. And you can do this as a Prime subscriber and get discounts, because Prime subscribers do get discounts at Whole Foods. So it'll automatically, like, you can add that to it and it'll automatically know. It's similar to if you wanted to pay with your fingerprint or something like that, because like your palm print, I guess, is also very unique to you. The way the veins run through, the lines on your palms, it's very similar to a fingerprint. So I just found it really, like, when I look at this picture and the videos, it's like somebody's just holding their hand over the sensor. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah. I never would have gone that way, but I mean,
yeah.
I guess what's wrong with a fingerprint? Like, have we had big issues with that?
I know, but I mean, this does give a little bit more security because it's a bigger surface area. It's a lot harder to try and replicate that. Not that it's easy to replicate a fingerprint, but I mean, Mission Impossible would tell you otherwise. It's obviously easy to do for Tom Cruise, but for any of us people, it's probably not that easy to replicate a fingerprint. But replicating a palm print is going to be even harder because, like I said, it's a larger surface area. There's more uniqueness to that. But, like, to me, I don't see... I guess, okay, this is technically easier than doing tap to pay with your card or your phone, like with Google Wallet or Apple Pay. But because you don't have to pull your phone or your wallet out of your card. You just hold your hand over and there you go. So technically, yes, this is easier than that. but it's not that much easier. I don't know. It's interesting. I would be.
Seems a little more creepy though.
It
Maybe this is
definitely-
my paranormal or paranoidness, but that sounds creepy a little bit.
I mean, it does sound creepy. I do understand what they're going for with it, and I don't think it's going to be as bad as what like when I first saw it, I'm like, what? That's
Yeah.
weird. But after reading up on it, I don't think it's going to be as bad or weird. It's just different. I don't have a Whole Foods near me, so it's not like it's something that I can really try, but
right.
it's an interesting option. So if you're a Whole Foods customer, you don't have to be a Prime subscriber to use this. You can do this either way. But like I said, if you are a Prime subscriber, you do get a discount. I don't know what the discount is, but you do get some sort of discount there. And there you go, I guess. So maybe give it a try. If you use it, let us know. Tell us how you like it. Tell us if you're weirded out by doing that, because I'm really curious.
To be honest, that's probably not something type of information I'd want Amazon out of all these terrible companies to have like that. So
that's the part that really weirds me out, is that it's Amazon doing this.
Right, it's Amazon. That's wow.
Like the benefit that I have or anybody has using either Apple Pay or Google Wallet is when you use your phone or watch or whatever you're using to pay, in that sense, it's not giving your card information over to the people. It's sending a unique number every time to wherever you're paying.
Right.
So they're not even getting your card information. Whereas this, like, you have to put your card in there associated with your account and associated with your hand. And then they have your handprint as well. And we all know how Amazon is when it comes to using your information.
Yeah. That's why I was saying that I don't like that.
Yeah.
But
So, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how this goes and where the future of this is going. But it's weird. I'll just say that right up front.
Yeah. I mean, convenience. I mean, that's that information. Yeah, we'll just say it's weird, and we'll just keep an eye on it. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, generally, convenience things do kind of eliminate some of that security, but in this sense, I don't think it's taking anything away from the security side of things. It's just different.
It's giving more info, I guess.
Well, kind of, in a way. But
Like
I mean,
said, we'll just have to see.
It does make it way more difficult for anybody to get information from your card.
Yeah.
Like, you can't use one of those card skimmers in this sense because you're not entering your card in any way. So that's beneficial. But you can get away from that by using your phone, using NFC payments or tap to pay on your card itself. So,
Right.
you know, it's interesting. But that's all of my news for this week.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go to Microsoft's side. They released some of their earnings, and guess what? They made lots of money. They made so much money that they literally have paid for Activision Blizzard again, cash. So lots of money. They're making money.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move on to other news because, geez. One thing that actually is pretty big, and this is going to be on more gaming side of things, because that's kind of most of the news that's happening. So Final Fantasy XIV Online is a game that's been going on for quite a while. I can't remember when it actually came out, but I believe it was 2010. It's a big old MMO Square Enix had that was actually between that you could play between PC as well as PlayStation. Well, you can now, here in 2024 spring, you can play it on your Xbox. That's actually a pretty big thing. That's if you are in that ecosystem, that's people have been asking for that for a long time, and they finally said, yeah, we're going to come out and do this, but also bring a bunch of other Square Enix games and Final Fantasy things coming to Xbox. So, Xbox fan, guess you're excited. I mean, this is a whole other revenue stream for Square Enix. So whether Microsoft paid them a lot of money to do this, or I would assume so, but hey, this is good news because, I mean, this is kind of what we want. This is, you want to play anywhere you want with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, this is good. So, but they, like I said, the big news was that, but also they did say they are going to bring more Final Fantasy stuff to Xbox. So I thought that was pretty good news.
That is awesome.
Microsoft did reveal the final Xbox Games with Gold lineup. So if you are interested in these games, might as well go get them. The final Games of Gold for August will be Blue Fire, which is an arcade racing game, and Initial Drift.
Those are two very different words.
Those are two different words, and I couldn't say it very well. But it says these are the last games that you can claim between August 1st and August 31st. So go ahead and hop on there. Usually these games are kind of not the biggest games. They used to be pretty cool, but I think they're now just throwing stuff and they're getting rid of this service. So if you want to have these last two, enjoy that. If you are a Xbox user, you probably have noticed that your dashboard has changed a little bit. They started rolling out a new Xbox home experience to make it show the background more. People have been asking for this, so kind of better UI, better management of your Xbox. So if you, it was funny. So I've got two Xboxes, and one of them updated, one of them didn't. My son got on there, and he's like, Dad, I don't know. I just turned the Xbox on, but something is wrong. I'm like, so here I'm thinking like, you know, maybe a graphics card error and something's wrong. So I go out there and I'm like, what's wrong with it? And he's like, well, look, it's different. And he's sitting there thinking, it wasn't me, Dad. It was. I'm like, no, it's fine. So, it was pretty funny, but no. So you'll know it's definitely noticeable. They moved a couple things around, but yeah. So it just kind of opens up a little bit on that screen, so you can see your backgrounds. You can adjust your backgrounds because they've been pushing that. So yeah. Also, I've been getting a lot of ads for this and a lot of mentionings, and I figured we ought to start mentioning this for Google Play. They've actually been expanding a lot to PC. I've been getting a lot of this because obviously I have a Pixel, and they're like, hey, by the way, just so you know,
you can play Android games on your Windows machine.
That's pretty much what it is. So
I've actually, strangely enough, been seeing more things about that as well. I don't have a Pixel. I don't have a PC. So, I mean, and I've been seeing these. I mean, granted, they obviously Google knows that I follow Google stuff on a regular basis, so they're going to throw it at me anyways. But they're pushing it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So right now it's pretty much just in beta form, but they've been slowly releasing it into newer markets and whatnot. So if you actually want to sign up for this, take advantage of it. And I was looking, when I was researching it, I think what it was saying is if you actually have the Play Pass, Google Play Pass, some of those are, transfer on there. So, if you already have it and you want to play that game, because some games that are on there, you can play on the PC as well. So, which I guess if you have it would be PC. I was about to say if you have like a tablet, but then I'm like, well, it has the Play Store. Never mind. But I was about to say, I'm like, no, let me rephrase that. But a Microsoft Windows PC. How's that?
There you go. Now, there are, as far as I understand, you can use basically any app in the Play Store on a Windows machine. Some are going to be more optimized for that, and that's where this comes into play, because some developers have made their apps work better on that size of display and that type of interface, whereas other apps are just going to be a really small window that looks like a phone on your display. So keep that in mind. Especially if you don't have a touchscreen, those apps are going to be horrible because you have to use a mouse and click and drag, and not going to be fun. But some apps are more optimized for that experience.
And that's probably why they have this on the PC and slowly releasing the games to it to optimize that experience for you. And
and if you go to the Play Store, it will tell you, I'm sure, there's a section there that says which games or games and or apps are going to be more optimized for that experience.
Yeah, they do. I've noticed any kind of device that I have linked, so it'll actually tell me if this device or this app will work on my Pixel Watch. So I'm like, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I mean, I figured we're starting to talk about Netflix and everyone else that's doing the gaming stuff. So might as well bring that up. So yeah, lots of news with that. I think, any ABK news really, I know in August is going to be kind of the big month. I think it's like the second week in August. The UK should finally go over what Microsoft had talked or sent to them, a proposal that they're going over to see if they're like, okay, we agree, disagree, and then close. So
hopefully next month everything will just be done. We can move on with our lives.
I'm hoping so. I don't, it's such a big thing now that I think every company's waiting for this acquisition, whether it's a gaming company or not. I think it's all tech.
Yeah,
honestly. So we'll see what happens. I think everybody, even us, like, I'm done talking about it. I'm done hearing about it. I'm ready. I'm like, just whatever you got to do, make it happen. But yeah, that's pretty much all the news that I have on there. Like I said, Caleb, he said he didn't have too much news he wanted to talk about, but I'm sure he'll give us some insight on what he thinks of the new Samsung stuff and possibly other things. I didn't see anything on NVIDIA or Intel for him to rant about, but I'm sure he'd have some. So, well, I'm gonna go ahead. We'll go ahead and end this episode unless Landon has one more thing.
No, not this week.
Not this week. All right. Well, dear listener, we appreciate you listening. If you would like to get a hold of us or have us talk about something or have a question, you can get a hold of us on our social media platforms, as well as our website at callingallplatforms.com. If you want to check out any videos that we have up on our YouTube channel, Calling All Platforms Tech and Calling All Platforms Gaming, go ahead and check that out. If you'd like to support Landon over here for dealing with two yahoos that think they know what they're talking about and sound really good, really that's all Landon's doing to make us sound somewhat decent. So if you want to support him in this, go ahead and go to our Patreon. Take a look at that. All right, dear listener, have a good week.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.